Although sometimes the Format Painter seems like a very nice and convenient tool, one of the drawbacks is that we have to find content to copy the format of it in order to paste it onto something else. In a long document, that can be very cumbersome and time-consuming. We also have to be careful to either select or not select the paragraph mark, that last little thing that looks like a space, depending on whether we want to apply font formatting or paragraph formatting or both. Lastly, if we wanted to apply this formatting to another document, it gets exponentially more complex. In short, the Format Painter is really nice, and honestly, I use it a lot, but it can be simpler. And when we want to work with more complex, more professional documents, especially over a longer period of time, styles are going to simplify the process, and they're provided in a nice little gallery so that we can easily find them. Word's built-in styles are what we're going to start with, and they're quality and multi-purpose. So let's take a quick tour of the Styles group on the Home tab. Before we get there, I'm going to go ahead and press Control-Home to move to the top of the document. Then I'm just going to use my page down key a couple of times so that we can see the top of page 3. This is where we had our verbiage for the executive summary. This is going to be the text that we'll initially take a look at. From the Home tab, we can find the Styles group, and when we first look at it, we might just see the gallery itself, but don't forget that there is actually one last option on the far right that says Change Styles. We'll go ahead and give this a click because we want to talk about this thing called style sets. Quick styles were actually started in Word 2007, and they've been carried over into Word 2010. They provide something known as these style sets, which are tied to themes. Available style sets depend on the theme for the document that has been chosen. Notice that there are also some other options here, but let's start with the style sets. If we simply start to pause over them, I want you to watch the document in the background. Because we have the instant preview in Word 2010, we can see how, by pausing over different style sets, it changes the fonts and the formatting within the document itself. There is no right or wrong, just know that you might want to work with these style sets to quickly format documents and add the type of formatting that you're looking for. In this case, we're going to stick with the default black and white, so I'm simply going to press Escape to get back one level into our drop-down. Notice that some of the other options that we have are to actually change some of the theme settings, like the colors and the fonts. We also can work with paragraph spacing, and just like opening up the paragraph or font dialog itself, we can work with setting things as the default. In this case, it's specifically talking about setting the style set as the default. These can certainly be useful and give us quick access to some of the settings without having to go into a different tab. But let's go ahead and click off of that for just a second because we want to focus right now on this gallery itself. The gallery, as we know, for all of Office 2010 gives us visual representations of things that we can apply. In this case, it's talking about the visual representations of styles. You can see certain styles up at the top, but of course you can click on the expansion button to be able to see more of the styles that are available in the gallery. Remember that not all styles are part of the gallery. We have to choose to show things in the gallery. So don't get stuck thinking that this is all we have. We'll show you where all the rest of them are in just a moment. The styles that we see here are in some ways tied to the theme because the features are also tied to the theme. For example, when we look at something like Heading 1 or Title, the color of the font and the fonts that are actually used are probably tied to the fonts that are used as the defaults in the theme, either as heading fonts or body fonts. If that's kind of a new concept, you might want to review the Office 2010 Shared Features course as a review of what themes consist of and how we can modify them. I'm going to go ahead and pause over the one called Title, which is on the right side of the first row. It doesn't give us much information, but because we're in Office 2010, we can see the live preview right on the document to see how Table of Contents in this case is going to look if we apply the title style to it. If we don't like that, maybe we can come over and pause over Heading 1 to see a different alternative. In addition to actually seeing a what you see is what you get type of font with little A's, B's, C's, and D's, we also get to see the name, and for some of them you can see symbols. For example, the paragraph symbol tells us that this is a paragraph style. If you recall, we have several types, including text or character, paragraph, list, and table styles, as well as linked styles that include both paragraph and character features. At the moment, we actually haven't applied any styles yet. We're just kind of pausing over different styles in the gallery and seeing how they look in our actual document. Another option that we have is to right-click on one of the little previews. And here we have many options, some of which we'll talk specifically about in different ways in just a moment. We can update the heading to match whatever the current selection is. We can modify the style. We can select anything in this document that uses that style. We also can rename the style and even remove it from the gallery. As I said, these are all options that we have from many different places, but don't forget, your right click can often be your friend, including things in the gallery. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and press Escape to get out of that little tooltip, and we're not going to make that choice. Instead, we're going to go down to the bottom. We've talked about the fact that we have a clear formatting option here, but now we want to talk about the Apply Styles. Let's go ahead and give that a click. This brings up a little window, typically on the left-hand side of the screen, that gives you another option for applying styles, maybe because you want to work with a different tab. From this window, which will stay displayed, even if you move to different tabs, we can again apply different styles from the drop-down. For example, we could choose that we want to use Heading 1. If we do that, it of course applies it to whatever the selected content is, and we can choose to reapply styles, modify styles, or bring up the Style pane from here as well. And the Style pane is where I want to go next, so we'll give that button a click. We're kind of moving down through the hierarchy of where we can get into more and more detail. We started with the gallery, then we went to the little Apply Styles window. Now we have this entire pane over on the right-hand side. If you've used Word before, this is the one that you're used to. This pane has been around for several versions, and in previous versions, before we had the ribbon, this is how we worked with styles. We can do so in this version as well. The task pane basically gives us all kinds of options. First of all, there is a clear option here, and then we can see our different styles listed. If we pause over a style, we can see some of the features about that style. When we pause over a style, we also can click the drop-down arrow to get options that we saw, similar to right-clicking from the gallery. Things like updating, modifying, selecting, removing, and those types of options. We're not quite ready to do that yet, so once again, I'll just press Escape to get out of that option. We also can see along the right-hand edge more of these symbols that designate character styles, paragraph styles, and link styles. You'll get used to looking at these so that you can tell what exactly it is you're working with, at least as far as the category or type of style is concerned. To apply styles from any one of these areas, all we have to do is select it from the list. Now, if you recall just a moment ago, I did a little bit of clicking, so I'm going to do some more here. I'm going to close the Apply Styles window, and we can see that we actually changed our Table of Content heading on the top of page 2 so that it is a Heading 1 style. We can tell because it's designated in the gallery, and it also has a highlight on the Styles pane. So wherever you want to work, it's always visible. I'm going to go ahead and press the Undo button up on the QAT to get rid of that. And I just want to move down and make sure that we select what is at the top of page 3 instead, which is our Executive Summary. With Executive Summary selected, we can go over to the Style pane in this case, and I'm going to start by clearing all. I want to make sure that any manual formatting or hard coding has been removed. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply Heading 1. Takes us back to a clean start, and make sure that everything that is applied purely using the style. At this point, I think you know what some of your options are. Let's see if we can think of some of them. If I want to make all of my headings look this way, what can I do? Well, we talked a little while ago about using the Format Painter, and we could use the Format Painter here. Once you apply a style, when you use the Format Painter, it's going to paste the style itself, not just the formatting. So this is okay, and it does propagate the use of styles throughout the document. We also could continue to scroll down until we find the next heading. In this case, it's the business concept, and we could simply continue to do probably what we've done throughout the rest of our work with Word, and that is to select the text and apply the style itself. We'll do this, though, instead of doing bold and italics and the things we've done previously. Remember, however, if this is a really long document, we could have 10, 20, even 100 or more different entries that have this type of formatting. So let's ask ourselves for just a second, is there a faster, easier way? And if you think there might be, the answer usually is yes. Let's try right-clicking on this text. You'll notice when we do so that there is an entry called Styles. When we pause over Styles, we get to see a little flyout menu that gives us some options. Not only do we have a mini version of the gallery here, we also have the option to update this, to save the selection as a new quick style, or something that says select all text with similar format. Let's give that one a click. What we can hope is that earlier when we manually applied this, actually we did it using the Format Painter, that now it has selected all instances, whether it be 1 or 50 throughout the document. This is a really nice tool to save you some time. We know that we didn't do it the right way before, but we want to select all instances now, so we did that by using the right-click or the gallery options. Now we can go back and do exactly what we did for our first heading. We're going to do so by first clearing all the formatting, then clicking on Heading 1. Now everything that had that formatting initially should contain it, whether, as I said, it's 1 or 50 or 500 different times in this document, and that in itself is a huge time saver. So as we've seen, being able to copy, clear, and apply styles are 3 word skills that I don't think are advanced or optional. It's interesting that many people I come into contact with who use Word on a regular basis have simply not been exposed to what styles are or why they should use them. In my opinion, everybody needs to know how to use these tools, at least to this level. They're simple and they're provided, so why not do these things? There's so many benefits that it really doesn't make sense not to. You now have those basic skills related to styles, and even if you did nothing more, this is going to save you a lot of time and also make sure that your documents are